Okay, folks, I've had a lot of people asking me again about the Jewelweed soap. So here, I thought today I'd go ahead and make a batch, and I'm going to make it a little easier than I did the last time because I'm going to use crock pot instead of making it outside with lard. I'm going to use coconut oil so it'll be softer, and mix it in a crock pot. So here's what we're going to start out with. I have my Jewelweed concentrate I cooked down a couple years ago, and I'm going to make some more in the next couple weeks, so we'll go over that later on. But after you cook down a kettle full of Jewelweed in rainwater, you'll get something that looks like a dark tea, and just use that in place of regular water. That's all you need to do. All right, now this recipe is a Castile soap recipe, and I will be substituting what I normally would use lard. I'm going to use olive oil with a little bit of canola oil. So here we have 24 ounces of olive oil and 2 ounces of canola oil. We have 18 ounces of the Jewelweed concentrate water. We have 26 ounces of coconut oil. I'm going to melt down stearic acid, which actually is, you get this in your stores, stearic acid. Okay, we were up to the stearic acid. Now we're going to, I measured out on my scale after I zeroed it with the cup, it says 8 3/8 ounces. So 8.4, 8.3 should be fine. And that's the old Red Devil household drain opener lye. Okay, you're going to need that. And I'm also going to need 2 ounces of this castor oil, which I'll measure out when I get to it. So the first step is going to be, I've got to melt on the stearic acid 1.2 ounces of the stearic acid, and I'm going to melt that with my coconut oil, and I'm going to put it on low. I'm going to put it on low in this kettle, and we're going to get that all melted together. That will really make your soap harden, the stearic acid. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and then we're going to add the lye water to it, and we'll do that in just a minute. Okay, I've got my coconut oil in my old pan. That's 26 ounces, and it comes in, you can get it, it's pretty affordable, Kroger's or any place. But anyway, 26 ounces on a low heat. And then this is what the stearic acid looks like. It doesn't take too much, and it's not caustic to touch or anything, despite the name of acid. So we're going to go ahead. That was 1.2 ounces, and we're going to put it in there. I'll scrape that on out with my spoon when I'm done here. And we're going to let that melt on low. Then we're going to, I'm going to go ahead and mix the lye solution, and we'll show you that in just a moment. Okay, this is the little bit of the tricky part. You want to pour the lye that you've measured out into a plastic container with wooden, you don't want to use any metal. You may use glass, and you want to pour it slowly into the water because it's going to heat up, and it is very caustic. So we're going to slowly pour it in. I'm wearing gloves. Let me put on my little extra eye protection real quick here. Okay, I have safety glasses on now. And I'm going to slowly pour this in. You never add water to the lye. You only add lye to the water. And you don't want it splashing. You don't want, and I hope my container's big enough. I usually use a big one. I may have to switch it. And it'll get really hot. I'll put a thermometer in it because you have to let it cool down to 100 degrees. You don't want it on your skin, you don't want it on your eyes. You don't want to force any of it. I'll rinse the rest of it down the sink. Okay, I'm going to slowly stir that until it gets somewhat clear, like translucent. Okay, while the lye is dissolving in the water, it starts to get, it's real cloudy at first, and then it gets pretty clear like tea again. You want to stir that real slow until it gets kind of clear again. And then we're going to put a thermometer in here. And it'll, like I said, it'll get up pretty hot. I'll let you know how hot. And then it'll get down to 100 degrees, and that's when we'll use it again. So in the meantime, we're going to put all our liquid oils in the crock pot. So we have the olive oil and the canola oil. Together, they're 28 ounces. I used... they're 26 ounces. I used 24 coconut oil and then 2 ounces of the canola. So we'll go ahead, and I had saved old canola oil. You don't have to use, any of these oils can be outdated. Good way to use up your outdated oils, okay? So, all right, and then over here, this was my coconut oil and my stearic acid. So I want to go ahead and pour that, because it melted real nicely. Pour that in here. Okay, so we have melted the stearic acid with the coconut oil on low, and have added the liquid oils into the crock pot. I still have a little bit of castor oil to put in there. And then when the water gets down to 100, we will slowly put it in there and use a stick blender till it traces, and I'll show you how that's done. All right, I measured out 2 ounces of the castor oil. You can get that at Kroger's in the laxative section. All right. So 2 ounces of that, and we're going to, that'll be the last of the oils. I'll go ahead and add this to the crock pot. In the meantime, we're letting this lye solution cool down. It's right now at 175 degrees, and we have to wait till it gets down to about 115 or 100. So we'll just, and that's going to take a while. Okay, it's time to add the Jewelweed lye water into all the melted oils. Now, you want to get them within 10 degrees of each other, and you want to have your lye water down between 130 and 120. So I have it to, probably about 128, and the oil about 125. You want to get it as close as you can. And I'm going to take my stick blender, and I'm going to start adding them together, and I'll turn off the video right now and show you what it looks like as I get it blended. Okay, I slowly poured the lye water into the oils, and I'm using my stick blender. I want to be very careful now. And I'm going to stir this around until it gets a little bit thicker. I'll let you see what it looks like when I get finished. Okay, I only had to mix it for maybe a minute, and you can see it's forming what they call a trace. That means you can see it laying up on the top, kind of like making candy. So this shouldn't take too long to make. I think the last one took an hour and a half maybe. So we're gonna go ahead, put the lid on it, keep watching it. I probably won't even stir it one time, and we'll see what happens in an hour or two. Okay, here's what it looks like in about an hour and 20 minutes. You can see it has soapified. It has rolled over the edges towards the middle. That's how it's supposed to look. We're going to let it go another 20 minutes. I'm going to stir it here in a minute. Excuse me. It's supposed to look like mashed potatoes when it's finished. Also, I want to make a correction on the first oils that I added. The first oils were not coconut oil. It was the olive oil and the canola oil. And then later you saw out of the pan that I had heated, that was the coconut oil with stearic acid in it. So everything's right on schedule, looking good. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay, I just stirred it. It's looking pretty darn good. I never quite know if it's ready. It seems to always make bars really nice, but just to be on the safe side, I guess I'm going to wait a few more minutes. I may try a little bit of the cooled soap here on the edges to see if it burns your tongue. You take a little teeny bit and you tip it on your tongue to make sure that it has the term soapified, all the lies kind of cooked the way it should be. And if it doesn't burn your tongue, and I'm not recommending you do that, but then it's supposed to be ready. So we'll give it a little try. We'll see what's going on. Well, according to the experts, anything above 220 has saponified. That's the correct term, not soapified, but saponified. And everything is cooked to the temperature it should be, and I can go ahead and put this in the mold. So we'll do that next. This is a mold Frank made me. It's just a wooden mold. You can see he cut little slots if I want to use that to slice the soap when I'm finished. But I'm just picking it up out of the crock pot, and we're just going to go ahead and place it here in the mold. I've just lined it with some meat wrapping paper, and it usually doesn't take too long to cool off. We'll see how much soap we have here. We might be able to go all the way to the end. I'm not real sure. Okay, it did fill the whole loaf pan, so we'll let it dry. You can see where it's made soap that's stuck here on the edges. So we'll see how that lathers up. I'll scrape that all up and make a little ball of soap out of it and see how it lathers. But there it is. That's your Jewelweed soap. We'll get it sliced here probably by tomorrow. So I will go ahead and write down the recipe so you'll all be able to follow it. Thanks. Okay, it's been about 2 hours since I poured it in the mold. It's still warm. The ends have already pretty well gotten hard. You can see where it's a little soft right there. So I'll wait till morning to finish slicing it. I'll get a good 20-some bars out of this recipe. And it just smells so good, and it's so nice and soft. And like I said, it's the Jewelweed soap, so it's good for any itch you might have. I'm going to show you now the ingredients so you can write that down. And if you have any questions on how to make it that you can't figure out from the video, just let me know and I'll talk you through it. So thanks so much for watching. It's always a good time making soap.